Good afternoon. Welcome to Caddo Parish work session. Mr. Clerk, could we have roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Dominic.
Present.
Lyndon Johnson. Jackson. Lynn. Bowman.
Present.
Cawthorn.
Present.
Gage Watts.
Present.
Middleton. Atkins.
Present.
Chavez.
Here, sir.
Smith. Lewis Johnson.
Present. Present.
We have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'll ask you to please silence your cell phones. We will have our invocation by Parliamentarian Gerald Bowman and our pledge by Commissioner Lewis Johnson. Please stand.
Everyone, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come, Lord, with real sincere hearts, Lord, and just convictions, Lord, of just thanking you, Lord. Father God, I ask that you just continue to bless not only every commissioner here, but everyone, not only under the sound of the voice, but everyone we represent, Father God. God, I ask that you just always look beyond just what's black and white, Father God, and help us all be able to know that we can be united because we're all human, Father God. God, help us to not make what we're doing about ourselves, but to remember that it's about other people. God, I ask that you continue to bless our president, Father God. Bless our governor and the mayor, Lord. This United States, God, just continue to strengthen us and help us, Lord, to understand that the things that we do and that's in front of us is not about the carnal, Lord, but it's also about spiritual warfare. Help us to remember our purpose, Lord. Help us to remember, God, that what you have for us is for us. And now, God, I ask you continue to just put a hedge of protection around everyone right now, Father God. Let no harm, hurt, or danger come their way. And help us, Lord, to be who you have us to be in your sight. It's in these and other blessings I pray for all of us in the name of Jesus, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Please place the American flag, render the proper salute, join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Bowman. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Clerk, I have no agenda additions. Do you have any?
Yes, ma'am. I've received one from Commissioner Jackson earlier today. It was I guess he was asking to add the resolution of welcome and recognition to the 25th annual Isabella Simon Sanders Scholarship Awards Banquet.
Do we have a copy of it at our station?
I have a copy. I had a copy for him. Would you like to see a copy?
Yes. Is there anyone else who needs a copy?
So we would need a motion or a second to add that to the agenda.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
I'll make a second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Stephen Jackson and second by Vice President Chavez.
Yes.
The resolution of welcome and recognition to the 25th Annual Isabella Simon Sanders Scholarship Awards Banquet. Okay. At this time, we'll be making, voting on adding this to the agenda.
Yeah, first we need to open it up to the public.
Okay.
To any comments on adding that to the agenda?
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of adding this item, resolution of welcome and recognition to the 25th Annual Isabella Simon Sanders Scholarship Awards Banquet, to speak in favor of this item? Is there anyone here to speak against adding this to the agenda? I see none. Mr. Clerk, I declare this public hearing closed.
Okay. So this time we need to vote to add this agenda item, or to expand the agenda and add special resolution.
Okay, please vote.
Mr. Atkins?
I'll try again. Did I make it through?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that passes 11-0. I have no other additions.
No, ma'am. Next, we move to citizen comments.
Okay, citizens who wish to address the commission must fill out a comment card and forward to the president or the clerk of the commission. Comments by any citizen will be limited to 3 minutes. I have no cards, Mr. Clerk. Do you have any?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay, next item, please, sir.
Next, we move to visitors. We have Mr. Adam Bailey, MPC Community Planning and Design Manager. It's a brief update regarding Shreveport Caddo Master Plan Committee. Mr. Bailey. If you'd like to at this time.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners, and specifically Commissioner Johnson for the invitation to speak on the Master Plan Committee. The last committee meeting was on Friday, May the 3rd. The next meeting will be on Friday, June the 5th.
Okay, Mr. Bailey, Commissioner Lewis Johnson has a question for you.
I just wanted to do a brief intro as it relates to why I called him up today, if that's appropriate.
It is.
Madam President, thank you. I'm a member of the Master Plan Committee, MPC, as is Commissioner Jackson, and there are a number of things that's happening within that committee that I think is very relevant for this body. My commitment is to make sure that I communicate those things so that we are abreast of those things that are relevant for the parish and the city in that respect. So I asked Adam to come today and give us a short overview of some of those things that are relevant. And my commitment is that we'll do this after every meeting to make sure that the body is informed. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. In the
Mr.
upcoming-
Bailey, it's back in your hands.
All right. In the upcoming weeks and months, several key UDC code text amendments will come before the parish and
Can't hear? They said they can't hear.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about that. Was it me? Several key code text amendments will come before the Parish Commission and the City Council, which include but not limited to new and amended language about temporary use permits, revised language regarding annexations, and revised language regarding wireless telecommunications, specifically micro towers. Starting in June 2019, per the goals and objectives of the Great Expectations 2030 Master Plan, the MPC will start creating neighborhood plans for the city. The Master Plan Committee asked for a tentative outline and schedule of when those efforts will begin and which neighborhoods the MPC will start with. In an effort to be more community and business friendly, the MPC plans on attending more neighborhood meetings to help with that better community engagement. The Master Plan Committee would like to reestablish the Citizen Advisory Group, also known as the CAG. Each committee member has been tasked with coming up with a list of 10 potential citizens to add to the master list. The committee will then narrow the list down to 20 or 30 names. And finally, the city is pursuing a new GIS Smart City software that connects and updates data held in different systems and formats across departments and agencies known as building blocks. It is an intuitive Zillow-like tool that lets you search, retrieve, and share information for a property in seconds, not hours or days. Departments that have signed up for the software include the city's IT department, community planning, property standards, engineering, water and sewer, SPAR, fire prevention, and both the Shreveport Fire and Police Departments, as well as the MPC. And now I'm going to turn this over to Keith Hansen, Chief Technology Officer with the city, who will speak more on that program.
Thank you.
Hello.
How are you all?
Welcome, Mr.
Thank you for
Hansen.
having me up here.
coming.
This was exciting to hear about from Adam. They found this over at the MPC. I fell in love with this tool after seeing it. I just whipped up a real brief presentation. It doesn't have anything specific. We'll just talk through it. So if you have questions, please interrupt me. This is more of a conversation than it is a presentation. So what is this tool? If you've heard of ArcGIS or GIS, you'll know that it takes special skill sets and specialized certifications to actually use and use well. This tool is GIS for the rest of us. You can think of it, like he said, like Zillow. You can point and click your way to filters that layer on top of each other and really make it a lot easier to understand complex geospatial issues that you can't really see until you layer everything on top. And as I understand it, we've never really had all of these data sets in one spot to do such a thing yet. So this will help us get that done. But the basics of the tool are point and click your way to gorgeous layers that you can layer on top of each other. As well, when we buy a subscription, the onboarding includes a white glove service with their own data scientist assigned to us to make sure that whatever data we've got, whether it's in a CSV or a layer in GIS somewhere or an SQL database or an Access database, we point them at it and then they figure out how to put it into geospatial coordinates. As long as it's got an address attached to the actual row of data, they can figure out how to get it onto a map for us. So we are going to very quickly pull a lot of information from a lot of different sources across the city and ideally the parish into one pane of glass for us, such that, and the best part about it is that I and my team are not having to do that work. We have an expert that we can't afford on the other side helping us. So it is included in all of that cost. Oh, sorry. Like I said, this will allow us to take a lot of different silos of information and put it all under one single pane of glass so that we can look through that as citizens, as commission, as council, as administration, etc. So there's no telling what insights we'll have until we actually see it. And that's been a big problem that I'm addressing on the city side as far as smart city data in general.
Keith, give me 3 examples of usable data that I'll be able to extract from this software.
So property standards violations will be able to be plotted and shared. If we wanted a crime map with this, we could create that very easily. We could have a historical crime map where you watch over time how things have changed. You can calculate things like property values declining or rising based like in a layer. You can split that out by commission district if you like. There's all kinds of ways that we can use this.
We could essentially forecast what time of the year more crime would be committed or how to deploy police assets better.
We will be able to plot patrol routes and then look at the crime around that and then layer on any other data on top of that. This does have the capability to publish those things to the public as well very easily, or lock it down to just who we want. So maybe the sheriff's office only wants X, Y, and Z people to see A, B, and C. We can do those types of things with this tool. So, but as to your original question, can we predict crime?
Forecast, not predict.
Forecast, yeah.
Predict.
We're not in Minority Report yet, but that is a big question with a lot of context surrounding that. But this will be one more tool that will help us understand where and potentially why crime is happening. So yes and no.
Also, thank you for coming again. That's what I wanted to ask about, because I was reading where you're saying that the building blocks part of the program will be able to help with tax assessments, ownership to code violations, and police reports. What aspect of police reports, how would that be something that we could use that'd be beneficial for our community?
And Mr. Hanson, before you answer that question, if you would like to get on the board, just make sure that you press your button to get on the board so I can recognize you, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I apologize. That was the question. Did you? That was it.
Sorry?
The question basically was, you listed about police reports, the program, the Building Blocks program would be able to help us be able to use it. I'm trying to see what data from the police reports, or how can we use that?
So you'll be able to look at a single property and see every single event in time on that property.
There you go. That's what I wanted to be.
You'll be able to see property standards, and then maybe there's crime around that property standards violation, say, or maybe there was a vacancy and then a crime happened around that, right? But the neat thing for at least SPD, right now they're picking up the phone. Every time they have to get a property standard citation out, they have to pick up the phone and call property standards, right? So that's one less thing they'll have to do now. They can just pull up the property, get the tear sheet, see every single thing about it, and then walk over there and know what they're dealing with.
All right.
That's a good example.
All right. Thank you. That's what I wanted.
The next exciting thing that I think this offers us is a geo-based statistical analysis tool. So not only is this tool useful for seeing layers of data, but it can also do a little bit of business intelligence along with that. So we can see graphs and charts based on the geospatial data that we're showing. And then finally, what I get really excited about, it has the capability to create layers and color-coded layers based on weighted AI algorithms. Meaning, if there is data about a property, which there's lots of data about a property, you can feed that data in to an AI algorithm and say, this is weighted higher, so color it more red when this information is heavier on that property. For instance, Shreveport Fire Department, they do site selection, site surveys before they have to do site planning. So they do this on a block level though, okay? At that block level, they look at all the events over the years and kind of weight something as high risk for fire or low risk for fire. They then decide where they see where all the fire hydrants are, and then they create a plan. If a fire happens anywhere in that block, this is what we're going to do. This tool can do the same sorts of analysis, but down to the house level. And so they will be able to see down to the house level where the most risky places are for a fire and plan around down to the house. So it's going to get a lot more granular, a lot faster using tools like this. And that's just one example. There's no telling how many other examples we can come up with once we have the layers and the data in place. Also, this is low cost, and I got to say it again, it's really easy to use. It takes almost no training to point and click your way and build a filter that you want to see. And then you can save your own filters as a logged in user and come back to them and monitor them over time if you'd like. The final reason, we have 13 departments and entities, including NLCOG, MPC, SFD, SPD. The Sheriff's Office is very interested in this as well. Just about every single department in the city is very interested in this. So we're really talking about, at least when we're looking at costs, they charge per population. So the higher the count of the population, the more expensive it is. When we bring in parish data, that increases the population. So, that's up to us today, I guess, to understand, what if we want to move forward with that. The city's definitely moving forward with this, but I'd love to include the parish as well. But the more departments like that we have, the cheaper this gets. We're really looking at about $2,000 to $4,000 a year per entity / department involved. In totality, it's about $40,000 for the city and $30,000 extra for the parish on top of that. So $70,000 total per year that we'd be paying for all of this. But split about among all these departments, it ends up getting close to about $3,000 to $4,000 if we include the parish. So this is what it looks like. This is a good example. I've layered on the big blocks of color there, red all the way down to white, show you the increase or decline in property values for that area, and then the rest is crime. So you can kind of see how things are increasing or declining around that potentially. Down below that is another view. So that top view with all the colors and the dots, that's the map view. If you click that spreadsheet looking icon on the bottom right, you're going to see that bottom window there. And you can straight up export that to an Excel spreadsheet of data if you want to. So if you wanted to create, say, a public map that anyone can pull that data out of and analyze themselves, this is a great public transparency tool because they can take that data away from the map and not be tied to the map and do analysis of their own if they want to on top of it. And I don't know what's going on here, but let's see. There we go. Oh, that's it. So if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them. I can continue to go on and on and on about this tool. I think it's great. It is one of the things that I feel I'm trying to build a data warehouse of all of the city's data in one spot so that we can analyze it much more easily than the 40 different databases the city currently uses to run all of our functions. This tool will give us a huge jump start on that data warehouse because someone else is pulling in all that data for us while we do everything else in the city. So I think it's it's inexpensive. Pretty much any department and entity can use it if they're using geospatial data. And on top of it, we can create public transparency tools. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hanson, for that presentation. We have a couple commissioners on board right now that want to ask you some questions. We'll start with Vice President Chavez.
President, if you want, I'll yield because I've spoken once already. I'll yield till after Commissioner Atkins.
Okay. Commissioner Atkins?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Hanson, for coming to visit. Help me understand, cost is based on population.
Correct.
So it depends on how we slice and dice it, but the city will be paying for $200,000 with or without the parish, right?
Correct.
So the parish has $250,000 total, so that's an additional $50,000. But yet, so it seems like we'd be paying a fifth of the total cost.
These were estimates, by the way. So.
Yeah, these numbers are estimates, but it seems like we would have been paying about a fifth of the total cost. But your numbers indicated more of a 55 or 60, 55, 45 split.
My plan is to prorate and make sure that you're paying for the population that you're providing. So if it's 50,000 on top of our 200,000, then you'll get prorated appropriately. All I know is the total cost. What I was talking about was the total, and he was giving me kind of, hedged bets here on the cost.
Meaning the vendor?
The vendor, yes, I'm sorry, yes. So before we can really get hard costs, we need to find out what's the population we're going to be dealing with and where the data is coming from, right? Once we have that in place, then I can go back to him and say, okay, we're going forward with, full parish data and city data or just city data. Then he'll give me a cost for that, and then we'll prorate it out, so.
Okay, and of course, this is an administration issue. They're going to have to work through it. That recommendation would come from them, not from us. But thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins.
Just
Be
to
respectful of the role.
further add to that, the city is of this opinion as well, that everybody needs to be paying their fair share for all of this, so and that it's equitable and makes sense. So.
Okay. Commissioner Lewis Johnston.
Thank you. But the reason I asked them to come forward is that one of the concerns that we've had as relates to MPC was the city and the parish remaining business friendly. And of course, it has that building blocks. Technology has the ability to do a number of things, but primarily from a MPC perspective, you can receive a permits history, when the project went into the system, how long it's been there, what else needs to be done in order to keep the project moving, and therefore making it better for those contractors and making it easier and more accessible to do business. So that's why I thought it was very important from the MPC perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Doug Dominic.
Mr. Hanson, thank you for coming. So to piggyback on something Commissioner Atkins said, is this going to be through the entire parish or just the MPC area, which extends 5 miles beyond the city of Shreveport? So we're going to go to Vivian and Rodessa because y'all were talking about the population. When you talk about 250,000, you're talking about the whole parish. When you're talking about the population outside the city of Shreveport to the MPC zone area, it's probably a lot less.
That's really up to.
So the MPC does not extend beyond the 5 mile limit. So I was just curious, if we're talking about cost, what exactly we're, so you go to do it in pro rata, that's something we need to know.
Yeah, that's
And
kinda,
Keyfield.
Yeah, that's
I
out of,
leave Mr. Smith out.
I guess that's not for me to decide. It's what does the parish want, right? So I'm happy to do whatever the parish wants.
Okay,
but-
I just, that's something we'll need to keep in mind.
Sure.
Just wanna bring it up.
But yeah.
Great presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Dominic. Vice President Chavez.
Thank you, President. Make a motion to move this to long-range planning, if I can get a second.
Second.
All right, I'll speak on that really quick. I got a lot of questions.
Point of order, how can we make a motion when
Well,
it's not on the agenda?
It's a presentation.
You can't make a motion or presentation?
And the
No,
parliamentarian seconded.
He's presenting.
I don't care. I mean, ask our lawyer.
It's an agenda.
On the agenda, I don't see it on the agenda.
Okay.
I would also.
He removed
talk
his
to the
second.
chairman before you put it on the chairman's plate.
Well, then I'll go ahead and, I'll
Can we
retract
ask
my
our lawyer?
motion, but I'll speak on it.
Can we ask our lawyer to give us an opinion on that?
Oh, sure.
He retracted his motion.
Well, but we'll take the opinion anyway.
Quite honestly, I don't know that anything you have in your rules prohibits you from making a motion during this particular time.
This wasn't average. But could we at least talk to the chair before putting it on the chair plate? I think that is the right thing. To add it to the next.
Vice President Chavez, you did remove your motion. Am I correct?
I did, because I'm gonna speak on it. I do, any one of us 12 can make a motion whenever we want, while we're on this horseshoe.
That's not true.
This is true. So I took the parliamentarian class.
You make one, but it ain't gonna.
If we vote on it, it would happen, but, first off, Keith, thanks for coming down here. Obviously, we're doing a report on, the MPC, and this, there's a lot of questions like if the parish would like to do this. I know our charge is roads, bridges, juvenile justice, animal services. I don't see anywhere on this GIS mapping if we're gonna have, what roads and bridges need to be accomplished, next year, things like that. And although this is gonna be a great tool for the city, I can only speak for myself. I'm not sure if our district is willing to pay for things like this for what the city would like to achieve. Because as Doug Dominic was alluding, I think Vivian and the town of Oil City and all the other cities are going to kind of be like, hey, wait a second. If these, I'm voluntarily paying for this and the city of Shreveport is the one being the beneficiary, hold on one second. And I know Doug will get a lot of feedback from that. So I'd love to have these conversations in a long-range planning meeting, or preferably the technology committee, because although this is a great asset to the city of Shreveport, we're up here legislating for the parish of Caddo, and we have to use those taxpayer funds wisely, and not just for the city of Shreveport. So
Can I address that?
Absolutely, it's definitely a give and take scenario.
Cool. So you will benefit by as much data as you put into the system. At the end of the day, yes, certainly this will be a benefit to the city. We're going to move forward on this regardless of the decision today. But ideally, you benefit as well, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm talking with MPC, NLCOG, and various entities that use maps. So ultimately, if you want your roads and bridges as marked and flagged as, in progress, and this is the project pace, or this is the status, etc., it is a layer in GIS somewhere that someone has in the parish. And if you want to display that to citizens, this is a great tool. If you want to use this on top of our data, then you benefit as well. So really, it's a give and take as far as, if you want use out of it, then put data into it, right? And then you're going to get a login. And there's editor logins that you can make your own maps with. And there's viewer logins where you can just get in there and put in filters and save them and things like that. So if there's a hot view in Vivian, say, or Keithville, or et cetera, then you can save those things for you specifically. Your data is going to benefit you. Our data may also benefit you. That's, I think, why it's one of the better tools to tackle across city and parish.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but as a citizen of Shreveport, if I wanted that data from the city's level, I could log in and get it, because you said we could have different users. So I could achieve that for free?
If you wanted that, sure, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the way I hope this goes is that this becomes a transparency tool for our city. So.
And I agree with you at 100%, but at the end of the day, we have to worry about the money.
Sure.
So if I go to Robert Glass and Tim Weaver or Director Clark and say, hey, listen, do you think this data would be beneficial for your operation? And Robert tells me, I know the progress of the roads and the bridges in the parish, and they're great, by the way. So you guys footing a bill for $50,000 may not benefit us anymore. I don't know if the other 11 people would push the button to say yes on that. Just from a financial standpoint, thank you for doing this from the city standpoint. And as a citizen, I appreciate it. But this is one reason why I have a feeling that there's a ton of names behind me that are going to speak. and I'm wrapping up. But in a committee meeting, this may be a great presentation for a lot of Q&As if we're going to look to the parish to foot the bill for $50,000 for our contribution.
I don't think it would cost that much.
Hope
but
not.
Yeah, not to anyone individually though. So
I'm done, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Chavez. I see Attorney Frazier on here. She may be able to address some of these comments that are coming right now. Did you want to go ahead and speak at this time?
I will, Madam President. What I was going to say is because this is something that administration would normally vet and buy for day-to-day operations, then perhaps before sending it, the committee would come in as to whether or not to put it in the budget. And so perhaps it should be administration that studies it and brings a recommendation to the commission or a committee.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Frazier. Dr. Wilson?
Ma'am, I was going to say the same thing. We haven't heard of it today, so I'd like the opportunity to vet it first to see if something we could fit into our operation. We currently have a GIS system upstairs.
Okay.
So, but we haven't had a discussion about how this would fit into that. So we'd like to take a look at it and see what it is first before we start going to talk about it in the committee meeting, not have all the facts together.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
So one, I'm just trying to figure out, is this the MPC update or is this the GIS update? What update is this? Because I'm lost on the committee. I don't see anything
It's
germane.
part of the MPC
I agree.
update.
That's germane to what's on what's on the agenda first. So are we getting an MPC, UDC? How does this fit into the UDC?
I can answer
The
that for
master
you.
plan.
Okay.
In the MPC meeting, the master plan meeting,
Okay.
there were a number of things that were discussed.
Okay.
And so this is one of the things that were discussed. It's new to us.
Okay.
It has some benefit, and I wanted to make sure that the body was aware of it.
Okay.
So that's why we're here today.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get, as my mother would say, my bearing straight on what I have in
Understand.
front of me. In January of 2018, we did a demonstration on what's called My Permits Now. Are we still using the My Permits Now process?
So the My Government Online and Building Blocks would merge together. The information that's in My Government Online or My Permits Now would be used in Building Blocks.
So we'll be paying for two systems?
Well, I mean,
Because
they're two different systems.
So will we be paying for two systems?
Yes.
Because what I saw at My Permits Now was that not it? Where
No.
we could go in and look at permitting?
Well, you can use all the data that's in My Government Online, and it attaches it to Building Blocks.
'Cause I sat through the My Permits training, and I was told that through the My Permits Now or My Government Now, that we would be able to, and I'm looking at a press release here from the Metropolitan Planning Commission that says we'd be able to go in, track application status, submit applications digitally, pay all online fees, review staff comments. We will also be able to see, and when Jeff Everson and I were there, they said we'd be able to see police stats, whatever we wanted to plug into that, and it was bought. I think the permit is through an NLCOG or an MPO that's down south somewhere. So I'm just trying to figure out, are we duplicating expenses here?
Mr. Rogers, do you want to address that?
Yeah, just a couple of comments on it. We looked at the, a couple of my staff members went to the presentation and looked at it. And basically what they told me that it looked like was taking some of the visualization tools from My Permits, taking some of the visualization tools from various different Esri products, from some of the stuff that the police and fire use and all those, and merging them together. It's kind of another tool, but makes it, some of it will be easier to publish online and to publish out for the public use rather than some of these other tools. Be able to merge all those different ones together is
What I was told was that My Permits,
there's
was
some
gonna
of
be
the,
able
from
to
my
do this.
understanding, there's some of the data that other entities and other layers are using that Permits does not use or does not do visualization tactics for and whatnot. It's kind of another
So
It's another tool.
it just seems like, to me, and since this discussion is on the agenda, it just seems like to me that if this was not, if my permits was not getting us what we wanted, and this seems to be getting us more of what we wanted, why would we go down the route of
This
permits?
pulls the data out of my permits to use. It would still need my permits.
So this is
That's
just,
from my
so this is like a
understanding.
widget.
Yeah.
So the my permits is like a widget to this new system or something. I'm just,
So my government online and permits, the piece of my government online that you're talking about is for permits, right? So that tool.
no. I went to the training, so I was there, and I was told that you could pull GIS maps, you could pull crime stats, you could pull if there was a water main broke and there was a service into it, a service call into it, you could pull it. I was there at the training. We met at the Greater Shreveport Chamber of Commerce. I was there.
That's fine, but this.
So what I'm trying to get to is that not what my permit is?
Right. I think someone told you it was possible to do those things, not necessarily what's rolling out, right? Now, it is possible to combine several layers on that map.
So
yes.
your answer to my question is no. My permits does not do that, or we just
My
have not
permits
tested
does
that
not-
function yet.
My permits is focused on the workflow of permits, right? My government online is focused on several pieces of running our government, right? This is focused on every single data point that's geospatial, period.
So, Dr. Wilson, as you look at and vet this, will you find out for me, have we tried to utilize and maximize every piece of my permits now that we are now using? Because what I was told, and Jeff Everson was there, Liz Swain was there. Were they not? Are we utilizing my permits to the maximum functionality that we can get out of it? Or do we just need to do away with the my permits piece?
This wouldn't be able to replace that. It doesn't have any workflow components.
So again, could you vet that? Because it sounds like there's some overlapping or there's some duplication that's going on. And I know we've been working with the MPC to try to increase their funding allocations. And what I don't want us to do is to seem like we're throwing money away when we can be utilizing these resources. And if we have to have it, we just have to have it. But what it sounds like and what I was told at the training was that we could utilize my permits now to get all of these things that I have heard here. And now what it sounds like is we cannot use that now.
Right.
And Liz and Jeff was at that meeting with me, and they can attest to that. And so it sounds like either we're not using my permits to the maximum optimization, or my permits, the folks from my permits sold us a lot of goods that they're not able to deliver on. One or the other. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner John Atkins.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll just be real brief to reiterate what Dr. Wilson and Attorney Frazier said. In my view, this is an administration issue. It should be thoroughly vetted by administration before it comes to the Parish Commission. I understand that it was intended to be informational only, but we certainly, at this point, I think we should step back and let administration take a deep look and make sure that this would be something that would be beneficial. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. I see no other speakers in the queue. Thank you so much for coming.
All right.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we move to reports, administration report.
Madam President,
Yes,
Commissioners, good
sir.
afternoon.
Hello,
Good
Dr.
afternoon.
Wilson again.
We have a few presentations today, and up next is Mr. Ken Rogers, who will give us an update on various projects we're working on at NLCOG and the significant ones.
Just Kent Rogers, Executive Director, Northwest Louisiana Council of Government, 625 Texas Street, Suite 200, Shreveport, Louisiana. Just one final thing on the presentation a minute ago. It would not substitute for Permits Plus. And the My Government Online and My Permits, no. It takes some of the data out of there and does visualization for it only. It does not help create work orders. It does not help. That That program does not create those work orders, does not create those workflows, does not do all the permitting portions.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes, ma'am.
We're back on the same subject that we were
That's not
talking about
germane?
earlier, so it's not germane to
Okay.
his presentation.
Sorry
problem.
about that.
I'm sorry. If you would like to talk to him more about it, though, you're welcome to do it after we're
No
finished with
problem.
the meeting.
No
Thank you.
problem. Just a couple of things I wanted to give you an update on. The most important ones are I-49 and the Interloop project. I have forwarded a document to the administration. Hopefully, it'll get forwarded around to y'all in the near future. It's a document we put together. It covers all the different mega projects in the region. It goes through the I-20 program, I-49, Interloop, it's I-69, and a very myriad number of the what we call our mega projects. Those are the big ticket item projects in there. The two that I really wanted to talk about, of course, are the I-49 project, the intercity project. We have submitted the cultural resource report has been submitted to Federal Highways and to DOTD. It has also been reviewed by both of those and forwarded on to the SHPO's office. SHPO is the State Historic Preservation Office. They've had that document for quite some time now, going through the review. I will grant it that it's about, it was three ring binders about this big and several thousand pages long for them to review. However, they were part of that process in developing it, so I don't understand why it's taking them so long to go through that review process, to be honest. We have gotten a few of the comments back from them, and they're being addressed. The comments that have come back so far have been minor, technical, edit type things. Along with that was submitted to DOTD and Federal Highways what we called the preferred alternative identification analysis. DOTD has reviewed that portion of the document also and forwarded it to Federal Highways. Federal Highways has said they will not review or comment on it until we get final comments back on the SHPO report, the cultural report, before they'll review that. So it's just kind of sitting in limbo right now. They are still working. There's a lot of technical reports reviewing the different interchanges, exactly what some of the layouts would be on those interchanges, some of the traffic reports that they work on, some of the other smaller environmental reports, a lot of the technical reports. They're still finalizing those in the background, so we're not just sitting at a complete standstill. They're still moving. We're hoping that I did put a copy of the report in there. It gives you kind of a timeline. Hopefully we will have the final draft EIS submitted to DOTD and Federal Highways for their review by the end of this year. If they approve of that document, that's when we can go out for a public hearing on it and start having those stakeholder meetings, which would mean first quarter of next year to hold that public hearing and second quarter of next year to have the final, what they call the record of decision, the EIS on it. At that point, we can move forward with right-of-way preservation, engineering, and construction towards that project. The Interloop project, we have submitted that final draft of the environmental document to Federal Highways and DOTD, got comments back literally Friday on that. We have a conference call set up tomorrow to address those comments. Based on getting those done, we're hoping within 2 to 3 weeks they'll approve of that final document so we can get it advertised and get the public hearing underway for that document. We're hoping, by the end of summer anyways, that the environmental document and environmental clearance for the Interloop will be completed.
Mr. Rogers, for the
Yes, ma'am.
public's hearing, which Interloop project are you referring to?
The public hearing for the Interloop project would be scheduled sometime early summertime. The way those work is it'll be it's a 45-day period. The first 30 days, it's out on the street for public comments. We
No,
cannot.
not about the length of that. I'm asking which interloop.
Specifically.
The portion from Flournoy Lucas, LA 3132, the portion from Flournoy Lucas to the future I-69 connection.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
The process for that, for those public reviews and the comment and the public hearing is it has to be on the street 30 days before we can hold the formal public hearing, and then an additional 10 days after that. So anywhere from, 40 to 45 days time frame for full public comment on it. With that, we had another project that, that we've been working on, and the administration and their staff has been very integral on working on this, along with the port, DeSoto Parish, and City of Shreveport, and that is a portion of I-69, a small project to go along with I-69. Within the segment, there's an SIU, it's called SIU 15, that actually goes from Houghton to Stonewall. We broke that into 5 segments. Within one of those segments, there was a frontage road project. And what we're looking at doing is developing that frontage road project, basically connecting I-49 to the port through the use of LA 3276, a new frontage road, and then something in the range of, I think it's Robson Road, if I'm not mistaken. We have some earmarked monies that were left over from I-69, and a few years ago, Congress came in and took up all those little bitty pieces of earmarked monies and swept them up and used them for other things. We've been hearing that they're going to do that again, so we're trying to figure out how can we spend this money. We don't want to lose it. It's only about $16 million. That money would go for construction of the frontage road portion of this project and purchasing the right-of-way along that piece of it. There will be probably about $8 to $10 million more of expenses. The port is playing the lead on this project at the time. We will likely end up doing just an initial agreement between DOTD and the port for the project, and then if smaller agreements are needed to be made, they'll be between the port and the different entities at that level, just to try and streamline some of the process. Y'all may have noticed that the port advertised recently for a traffic study to be done out and around that area, and that's what that traffic study is for.
Mr. Rogers, thank you so much. Did I hear you say anything about the lighting along 3132 from Jewel Avenue?
No, ma'am, you did not.
Hines Road, West 70th area?
You did not hear me say anything about that. That is a project that's on DOTD's books, and they have a list they call the XX list, that as projects.
I don't want to say what kind of list.
I'm gonna send a list of people that's gonna crash and can't see, and then that's when we get things done when accidents happen.
Yeah, the XX is for dates. They put a date to it, and that date is XXXX. Basically.
Driver still can't see.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
I
Rogers.
agree.
I hope that that's a priority on the list. We have a couple commissioners on board. Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Kent, you answered my question about some of the environmental work that was going on. Obviously, you know my question. I-49, there's some conversation about, Secretary says it's a dead deal. Where are we? I'm trying to get it from. Dr. Wilson doesn't call me like he used to call me.
Y'all broke up.
Do what? No, we're still moving on forward with the environmental work on the project. There is a small chunk of money available for the project right now. It's part of the Unclaimed Properties Act, that would help do some funding. I know that there's a couple of folks working on some things in Baton Rouge right now to augment that fund, to help move some things forward. Again, right now, no, there's not a big giant, here's $500 million to do the project.
But the project is not dead.
No, the project's not dead, no, by no means.
So, and you hit on the second half of my question about the UCP. I know that bill was there, but it sounds like they're trying to move the money away from, the way I read the bill, it sounds like they're trying to move the money away from it, the treasurer.
No, there's the unclaimed, the I-49, I'm trying to remember what the actual term of the fund.
I know what you're talking about.
There's a fund within the unclaimed properties fund that's for I-49.
Because there are two bills.
There's two bills to readjust what can be done with some of that other unclaimed property monies, but the portion within the I-49 funds are still protected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They actually move them, it's complicated because it creates another fund within the.
Right. But they're not
within
taking
the
away
transportation fund that's called a transportation construction fund only,
Right.
and moves. It's complicated, but those funds are still protected.
Okay, that's what I want.
Yes.
Thank you, Kent. Thank you for coming down. Thank you, Dr.
No
Wilson,
problem.
for having them down. I think we agreed to do this sort of on an annual or as needed basis. So appreciate the
Anytime.
work that y'all do. Thank you, Kent.
Anything else?
That report,
Commissioner
can we get
Middleton.
that? Can we get that report?
Yeah, I sent them to
Yes,
Woody
sir.
and Todd. I think they're
We'll
going
email
to
It was like
distribute 'em
20
out.
pages. We didn't want to print all that out, so I'll email it to you.
I'll forward it to you. I have it on my computer. I'll forward it to each one of you after the meeting today.
Yeah, I just want to be able to read it for myself. I wish
Yeah,
I
they're-
had it before today.
Right. It
The-
was a lot to print out, Commissioner Johnson. That's why we didn't print it out today.
No, I understand. I
But we
wish I
fully
could have
intend
had
to make sure
it
y'all
on
have
the
an electronic
email, then I
copy.
could have been asking some questions. But
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this report is actually, the latest update of it is from March, so there are a couple of things that need tweaked in there. One is, of course, the groundbreaking for the Barksdale Gate Access Road. That kind of slowly comes off that list now, because it's underway.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Anything else?
Commissioner Middleton is on board.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Ken, for coming down. Can you give us an update on I-20, what's going on out there, when they're going to complete that?
The state actually has a series, on the Bossier side, I think they've split it into 4 different projects.
And
that
I'm sorry, specifically exit 3 and 5. the
Yeah,
Greenway.
that's what I was about to say. The Caddo side, I think it got split into, I think it's 3 different projects on this side of the river also. The reconstruction from basically the way station to state line is underway now. That's what all the work is that's going on now. And then there'll be some work backwards from the way station into town at that point.
If you can just give us an idea of when they're expected to complete that, because it's supposed to be done in February, now we're in June. Just let me know. That's good. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'd hate to give you a date on that. Don't know.
Thank you.
Okay,
No problem.
Commissioner Jackson, second time around.
Can you also check on Caddo and Forward here? I know that they were trying to prioritize us, but we were also trying to do the
Yes.
what's called the off
Off-systems bridge program.
not off system,
This the road swap program.
the road swap program,
Oh, yes.
Right size.
Yeah,
Right size.
sizing program, yes.
right sizing
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
If we're, I think there was gonna be, I think I had Representative Glover checking to see if that was a statute that needed to be created, or if they just need to promulgate the rules with LADOTD within the program to where we would not take necessarily ownership, but if we would just basically maintain, because I think there's some issues, as Attorney Bernstein brought up, there's some issues with the right-of-ways and all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's typically been to where they swap ownership. They'll do
But according to
their improvements and give you like, it varies between 20 and 40 years of maintenance credits is what they call them.
But according to their attorney, there's no such thing as true ownership swap when it comes to the state. So if you could, in your wheelhouse of things to do, check into, I know there was either a question on whether they needed a statute change, if they could just promulgate the rules within LADOTD. If you can just shoot that to me.
How that actually works.
Yeah, via
And how
email
it-
or send it to
Okay.
Dr. Wilson and get with me on that. Appreciate you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Dr. Wilson?
Yes, Madam President, we have a Comcast update for Mr. Ronnie Coleman today.
Okay.
Appreciate it. I think it was a request for information concerning some changes. I just want to give an update on what's going on with it.
Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. Specifically, I wanted to, again, I'm Ronnie Colvin. I'm a Senior Director of External Affairs for Comcast. Thank you, Parish President, Commission President, rather, for inviting me here today to talk about Internet Essentials.
Yes.
I want to just kind of, again, just bring you up to speed on a program that we've had around for a long time. It's actually been in existence since 2011. It's considered the nation's largest and most comprehensive internet adoption program for low-income Americans. We've connected nationwide. Comcast operates in 42 of the 50 states, and we've connected a little over 6 million family members to this service. Again, since we began in 2011, we've connected about 4,000 people here in Shreveport since the program launched. And we operate in some other parishes in the state, and we've got about done a little over 8,000 connects in the state of Louisiana since it launched. The terms are really pretty simple, the way the program works. It's again, a low-cost internet service. It's $9.95 a month. It also gives the customer an option to purchase a computer for $149.95. And it also provides online training and access through a couple of different mediums. You can do it through print, certainly online, and also as in person. We offer some in-person training as well. The terms, there's no credit checks to be able to get access to the service. There's no installation fees for the $9.95 service. There's no contract terms, anything like that. And the service is a 15 megabit service on the download, 1 megabit upload. And there's also, because just about everyone today has a cell phone, Comcast added basically a kind of a whole home solution with a Wi-Fi. And so if you get the service, it also comes, where you can use the service throughout the whole home. The eligibility is again very simple. Your child has to be eligible for a national school lunch program. If you're a senior living in any kind of HUD housing and get any kind of government assistance in your housing, you're eligible. And last year in October, we added low-income veterans to be eligible for that service as well. Awesome. So the availability is probably the next question. Where is it available? Anywhere Comcast provides service today in the parish or in the city of Shreveport, it is available. Applying is very simple, really 3 ways. You can call, there's a number on that brochure that I passed around. You can apply online, or you could actually go to our Xfinity store. So either one of any of those 3 options would work. All of our materials are available in English and Spanish. So many of our Hispanic community have subscribed to this service as well. So all of our training materials and our brochures are both in English and in Spanish. And probably the most logical next question is, how do we promote this today as Comcast? Do a lot of back-to-school rallies. I've attended a lot of PTA meetings here in the parish. The Caddo Parish School District, they actually help us distribute the brochures that you have throughout the school system. I've done several church events, where they've had sponsored back-to-school programs through the churches. I've come out and done, a lot of different presentations, just like I'm doing today. And certainly PTA meetings is also a good way. And we were big partners with the Boys and Girls Club here. So we've actually set up 2 technology labs. We're different grants for technology labs to the Boys and Girls Club, and they're a national partner of ours. And they've been a big supporter and also kind of promoter of this Internet Essentials program. So I'll be happy to answer any questions and take any that you have.
Mr. Colvin, thank you so much for coming down. I recently, I guess we revisited this. I remember that we got some information about it a few years ago about the Internet Essentials. And when we were at the Economic Development Conference in Detroit, it was a huge benefit to a lot of people there. And I think that it was important for the citizens to know that this is offered to them because 4,000 sounds like a lot, but it's actually not. There are a lot of people who are not aware of this program. So I wanted to invite you today so that you could share with all of us, my colleagues, as well as myself, how we can get involved, how we can partner with this organization, and how we can go out and maybe assist as well as purchasing some of these laptops or desktops for the students, as well as now veterans. And the only thing that you didn't say in your presentation was that they cannot have a Comcast internet, have not subscribed to Comcast internet within the last 90 days, within the last 3 months, or they cannot have an outstanding debt to Comcast that is less than 1 year old.
Yes, those are two requirements. Let's say you have a debt that is something happened, you fell on hard times, it's over a year old, Comcast will completely wipe that free. They basically just hit the reset button and you start over. And again, the 3-month requirement that's pretty standard. I mean, we have, it's nationwide like that, and that really this service doesn't take the place of a normal. You're not going to be able to stream a high definition movie with this service. You'll be able to stream a standard definition TV program with this service. It's very similar to what you would get with the 4G cell phone connection. So it is designed for again for low income, and it's this very entry level price point on there at $9.95.
Absolutely, but that's assisting in their education and giving them that classroom environment, and I think that's the common goal for this. I have one commissioner at least on board that has a question or comment. Commissioner Matthew Lynn.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The other person that provides internet service in our community, their computer actually, after 6 months or 8 months, sort of does an analysis without a human looking at it, how much average bandwidth you use. And even though the contract might say you get a certain amount, it'll actually shrink that amount. And I have a phone number that I can call to have that increase back to what I originally paid for. Do you have a phone number and a contact person that I could contact in case with Xfinity, in case the bandwidth that a person pays for monthly actually appears to be decreasing?
Yeah, I haven't run across that, to be honest with you, so I really don't have an answer. But you certainly, I put my business card along with the material, so it's got my cell number, my email, my office number.
You didn't have enough cards.
Didn't have enough. I think I have a few more, and I think I've got a couple more here if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. That's everything. Thank you, Madam President.
And make sure you have that.
Thank you, Commissioner Lynn. Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Mr. Colvin, thank you for coming down, and this is a great program, especially when we're talking about access to the information highway. I just wanted to be clear on number 1 on the eligibility. It says have at least one child who is eligible for the National School Lunch Program, receive HUD housing, so they need to meet both of those, or is that an and or?
That's just one.
Okay.
One requirement.
Okay.
So you could have a grandparent that also maybe took care of a school-aged child. That would work as well.
Okay. Are you just gonna leave this one, or are you gonna leave a stack of these?
I brought a stack with me, and I'll be happy to get to Lucky or Dr. Wilson as many as you need.
Yeah, you can get us a stack.
Yeah, I probably brought maybe 50 with me today, but yeah, would be again, because I think Madam President probably said it the best, is getting the word out. How do we get the word out? That's the most difficult thing for us, is just really word of mouth, and again, going to the schools and getting because a lot of people do not know. I mean, it's just an unfortunate thing, and again, we've done a lot of good work and a lot of kind of boots on the ground type work to get the message out there. It's hard to advertise because a lot of times people they can't afford a television service, or they can't don't have online access today. So
you said y'all been doing this for about 3 years now?
We've actually launched the program in 2011, and it has been here in Shreveport since 2011.
11. Would you happen to have any analysis on what your taking rate would be on this particular program? Or would you just be
Just
able
the
to
total
categorize it?
connects, that we've done since we launched the program here is 4,000.
4,000, okay. that's
Yeah,
not
and
bad.
again, you've got to assume, there's usually 3.5 members per household, something
Correct.
like that. So, it is the people who have that, that number goes up dramatically. So, it's not only helping the child that needs the homework, needs a computer for homework, it's also helping the parent as well.
Who might need to apply for a job or something.
Correct,
So,
100%.
Very much. And I appreciate the work. I know y'all work with Lloyd Thompson and his backpack.
Lloyd and I are
program,
very
so-
dear friends,
Yeah.
and
We've
and
been
he's
over there
helped us a
several
lot
times.
at the, not only through the NAACP,
Correct.
but also
This church.
now that with his work with the
School board.
board.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, and I'll be on the lookout for some additional
Okay.
packets. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. I too was in Detroit when we heard about the Comcast Essentials. And I do remember when we kicked it off here. And I think over a period of time, there was energy and then it fell off. And so now I think that we need to restrike that energy because I think I'm probably one of maybe 2 or 3 that might have children in school. And I don't see this at the beginning of the school year. So I think it's that, every child should be bringing that home at the beginning of the school year so that the
Agree.
parents, that can qualify for this will be able to get it. Because a lot of stuff that I see for homework or classwork that did get done, it's going to the internet. You got to be able to do this, got to be able to do that on the internet. And so I always ask the question, what about those kids that parents can't afford internet? What are they to do? And, some of them have to go to the library and share that computer. But getting the word out that they can get this for this price, they probably can afford it at home. Or try to do it on a cell phone, which, is totally impossible. You sit there straining your eyes looking at it.
And that and your data,
Right,
it
you're
eats
using
up the
up your data
data.
plan as
That's the
well.
big thing that we hear for the cell phone.
I just think we got to get the word out better, and if you can bring a lot of those, I can make sure that at least the schools in my district are covered. I'll get that out to those.
Churches are
parents.
another good avenue,
Right.
and again, I've met with several pastors, and again, there's probably no one like silver bullet to get the word out. That's why we try to have like we have a comprehensive back to school, because it's the biggest time of the year for this program is during that July-August time frame, when everybody's thinking back to school, and that's why we try to hit any if there's any kind of city sponsor. I live in Jackson, Mississippi, so I know they have a big
So my
city
next
sponsor.
question was, if you're gonna be here till we get through with the meeting, I want to try to find out when there's some dates you might be coming back, so that we can try to line up at least some churches and some other schools to feed.
The better thing would be if you send me some dates, we'll make it work.
Okay.
I got my word on that. I mean, I'll come back and we'll do, especially during the back to school, and also having the information available on any website. So I love Jackson Public School, for instance, they have this information on their website. So, if a parent goes to the website, there also is a link to get to the Internet Essentials, national site there. So, that is also a good way to get the word out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Colvin. I think that this is one of the best ways to get the word out to the public here in Caddo with these 12 commissioners around these horseshoes. You can look forward to being very busy with
Good.
Internet Essentials. Thank you so much for your presentation
Thank you
today.
very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Roy, for coming. I appreciate it.
Dr. Wilson.
Yeah, Madam President, Mr. Guy Comier could not make it today. He called Friday afternoon and said something came up, he needed to be at Capitol for.
Okay.
And also, I'd mail each commissioner a updated report on May the 11th. So hopefully you all received that from me. If you haven't, let me know. I'll email it to you again. There's a legislative update dated May the 10th.
May 10th.
Okay, the last thing we have, Madam President, is our financial report for April is at your desk. You should also have a copy of the financial report for the month. And that concludes my report for the day, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next, we move to commission remarks, communications, reports, and other items related to the work session agenda.
Commissioner Doug
I got
Dominic.
one question. I don't know, we've been talking a lot, but we got an animal-related enforcement handbook and some mosquito stuff. Is that just for our information?
Yes, sir.
I mean, just glancing at, especially those animal laws look really good, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it Commissioner Dominic?
Yeah, for right now, I got something else, but it'll be later on.
Okay. Commissioner John Atkins.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to let my colleagues know that our Finance Committee met this afternoon at 1 to discuss raising some bonds for the parish. As you all know, the parish is financially sound and well run, but oftentimes our expenses exceed our revenues on an annual basis. That's largely a function of the fact that we put a lot of long-term capital projects into our annual budget, so we're burdening our annual revenue with long-term capital projects. So we think, the committee thinks it would be best to balance out some of those long-term projects with longer-term bonds to help stabilize our cash flow and balance out our near-term revenues and expenses. So the committee voted to forward to the full body recommendation for raising additional bonds, and that will all be within our existing millage capacity. There'll be no expansion of millages, no new taxes, all within our existing revenue structure. So that'll be coming back to this body at a later date, but just want to let you all know of those discussions and that motion to move this forward to the full body. Thank you.
Forgot to say, read my lips, no new taxes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Matthew Lane.
Dr. Wilson, this animal-related laws, is this on our website?
I believe so. Is it posted yet? If not, it will be.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mike Middleton.
Thank you. Dr. Wilson, if y'all would look at this, it's collated backwards. You read 1, then 2 from the back of the book.
Oh, okay.
And so if y'all can get that corrected, if you need to print some more, because I've been in communication with Captain John May with the
Yes,
Sheriff's
sir.
Office. They need 100 of these.
Okay.
If y'all could get those delivered to them, we will, especially after they're reprinted, if you have to do that. That's it, thank you.
Mine is not
I
printed
think you got a bad one,
I
Mike.
think that's your
I think they
copy.
gave you a bad one,
Yeah,
right?
mine is in correct sequential
Oh, okay.
order.
All they did
Here-
was take that loose and flip it
District
around.
8, Exhibit A.
All you can do is flip it around.
I understand how you can read it backwards.
No. You're gonna stay with it. Flip it around.
It's just the cover.
Cover back.
Should have been done right. Somebody should check it when it was done. Thank you so much.
Yeah, mine's correct.
This here, that's done got out of hand here. I'm through.
That's fine. We'll get
A
you
lot of people give that wrong until you give it to Commissioner
See,
Middleton.
that one, it starts at the back.
That's it, Commissioner Middleton.
That's it, thank you. So,
You're welcome.
do like Commissioner.
Next item, Mr.
Next, we
Clerk.
move to President's report.
Okay, I don't have a report today. I just have a couple of questions here. Dr. Wilson,
Yes, ma'am.
have the organizations or the services that we provide for our summer programs for the youth been added to our website yet?
Let me check, ma'am, to see, 'cause I know we still putting together the list, like, all the students that's gonna be hiring.
Right.
So let me check for you and find out.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we stay on top of that because school is out and we want to make sure that we're doing everything to keep our youth busy and let the parents know what's available for them out there. My next question was about, I think you already answered that. Attorney Bernstein is not here.
He's here. He's back
He
there.
is. I think I had a,
That's why I was him and
hi. That's quick.
Henry be hiding.
Hello, sir. I know, I started a discussion over the weekend about the complete census count and
Yes.
forming the committee.
Mhm.
And if we could get together one day this week so we can start preparing it for our next work session.
Sure, go ahead, too.
Thank you, that's it. And just want to make sure that everyone continues to watch the weather closely for the weather conditions that are coming up, any flooding or any situations that you're having at your personal homes. Make sure that you document, keep all of your receipts and take as many pictures as possible. That will conclude my president's report. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
We have no old business, we move to new business. Zoning case 19-300-P in regards to ordinance number 5879 of 2019, amending the zoning of property located on the southwest corner of Williamson Way and Union Pacific Line from RE Residential Estate District to I-1 Light Industrial District.
So move for adoption.
Second.
That was moved by Commissioner Stephen Jackson and second by Commissioner John Atkins.
To move to Thursday?
To move to Thursday. Yes, I'm sorry.
Commissioner
okay.
Jackson, you on the board?
Yes, in the interest of time, I'd like to globo and introduce zoning ordinance 5879, zoning ordinance 5880, ordinance 5881, resolution 40, resolution 41, resolution 42 of 2019.
Second by the chair. So it's been moved by Commissioner Stephen Jackson and second by the chair to englobo the items as he has read to move to Thursday. Please vote.
Dr. Wilson took up all the time.
Had a lengthy administrator's report today.
He's a great administrator, too.
Mr. Dominic?
I voted. I need to go again?
Yes, please. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, if that passes unanimously. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Authorize Louisiana Community Development Block Grant Project Selection.
So moved.
Second.
How
Okay,
about question?
yes.
Do we make, Anita, can you come up? Can you give us about do we make the selection Thursday? And what, can you tell us a little bit about?
Yes, I'll give y'all an update. Good afternoon, Commissioners. We had our public hearing on April 24th at 10 a.m. Of that public hearing, we only had 2 entities that appeared, one of those being Lakeview Water District and the other one Pine Hill Water District. Pine Hill Water District was there only on information gathering purposes. That did not submit a project. So lucky for you all, we only have one project, which is Lakeview Water. They are proposing to replace approximately 54,000 linear feet of undersized water mains. And additionally, they are under a mandate by the state because they have lead in their water and they need a chemical injection system. So they have a very viable project. Their area appears to meet the low to moderate income levels that the grant requires. And so the CDBG process just requires that we get a vote from this body to proceed with that particular project.
Thank you, Anita. I was gonna call you up to ask you the same thing. I'm glad Doug called you up so that the
So
public
two
can
questions. So number one, just make sure everything's clear. Thursday, we can move this to Thursday. We just got one project, so we won't have to be debating on who.
Right,
which
we'll
one.
just
We
need a
got
vote
one.
to move forward in the application
Number
process.
two, Mr. French is here. I'm assuming he's the engineer for this project.
He is
that
the
correct?
engineer for Lakeview Water District, and he is here in the event that y'all had any construction questions.
I don't have any more questions. Hopefully vote to move this forward.
Okay.
I'm sure Commissioner Johnson is going to be very extremely pleased if y'all do vote for this.
Okay.
Johnson, you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, both of them in District 2, so I can't lose.
The main thing is the citizens can't lose. Let's move on.
Pine Hill actually wanted, they were interested in some technical issues with their project. They wanted to put in radio-controlled meters, but the grant requires that you have at least a $200,000 threshold for construction, and they did not have that, and so he yielded to Lakeview at the public hearing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. President. I'm through.
Thank you, Commissioner Dominic. Anita, we have some other commissioners on board. Mr. Todd, I'm not sure what's going on here with the system. It has Jackson as the speaker in queue. I see Commissioner Matthew Lynn. Are you on board?
I am.
Okay, we're just gonna switch it to that. I have no idea where that was, what Commissioner Dominic was on board and it was up there, but, okay, go ahead, sir.
If you would, let Commissioner Atkins go ahead of me because he has a question.
So I just have a quick question. Thank you, may I, Madam President?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner Lynn.
Yes,
Did
sir.
I miss it? What is the size of the grant?
The proposed cost from the engineer is $1.47 million for their project.
And this is a federal grant?
It is federal funds that come to us through the Community Development Block Grant Office at the state of Louisiana, but they are federal funds.
And are
They're
there matching funds required, or is it just?
No, sir.
Wow.
No, if we're awarded, the process has changed slightly. We don't get to go straight to application. We submit a project severity portion of the grant application, and once the state scores project severity, then they will invite municipalities to apply. And we're thinking that this will be a pretty viable project and are hoping that they invite us to apply once we submit the project severity portion.
Okay, so we still have to go through the process to be selected.
Yes.
So it seems like
And then in the event that we make it all the way to the end and we're awarded, we have to have this vote on record that you all propose that we proceed with this project.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome, sir. Commissioner Matthew Lynn?
Yes, motion to englobo and move forward the Louisiana Community Development Block Grant, Special Authorization Resolution of Recognition for Booker T. Washington Girls Track Team, authorization of special reading and recognition for Resolution 36, and the added-on resolution, welcome recognition to the 25th annual Isabella Simon Sanders Scholarship.
Second. Okay, that was moved by Commissioner Matthew Lynn. That was second by the chair. Okay, Commissioner Atkins has already spoke. Please vote.
You do it well.
Middleton? Thanks, sir.
And that passes 12-0. Next item, Mr. Clark.
Next, we move to communication committee reports.
I see you on board. I saw you. Okay, there you are.
Gee.
Commissioner Lyndon B. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. Donna, can you look and research between you and Henry about, I want to try to see if we can do like an appeal process to these water and sewer boards. And my point is, just recently, with all the heavy rains, some of the sewer districts are having some issues of water backing up, with sewage is backing up into some houses. And so they go to the water board and tell them, okay, I had the sewer in my house, it's bagged up, and a lot of them are not getting satisfactory responses. You know, when sewer bags up into your house, it's because basically the system has too much water. It could be rainwater. It could be that a pump went down. It could be a number of other scenarios. But, you know, to tell a taxpayer who's paying their bill, property taxes, that it's nothing I can do, you know, I think that there is something that could be done. And I think that even though we appoint the 5 members to that board, that there should be an appeal process on top of the 5 board members. So if you can check into that and see if there's something that we can do, I would appreciate it, and I can put it on the agenda so we can move forward with that. Thank you. That's it, Madam President.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. I'm almost scared to touch the button. Commissioner Stephen Jackson.
Yes, Dr. Wilson, if you could get Animal Service, Patrice Brown is her name. I think she's been making a complaint, and that was the lady also about the cats.
Susan.
I want to say it's Patrice Brown or Patrice Hall. Said she spoke with some folks in Animal Services already about one complaint, and so if we could follow up with her.
Patrice Hall?
I believe it's Patrice Brown or Patrice Hall. And Patrice, if you're watching, I apologize. I forgot your last name.
You mentioned have a number for
I will get you a number for it. I don't want to call that out over here. And we can get together. I understand there's also some aggressive dogs over there that's keeping folks up at night. I think at some point, I hadn't read this big book, but I want to take some time
We'll take care
to do it. But I don't know if that's an inconvenience or whatnot, but I want to follow up on that. Also, Mr. Clark, did we ever find out if there was an application, Alan Clark? Sorry, I didn't know we had, I forgot we had 2. Did we ever find out if we had an application in for the, I'm saying quotations, alleged pawn shop on 70th Street. I know that's Commissioner Cawthorn's area, but I'm just concerned. Do we know if we have an application in on them, or have they already gone through the process, or is that just?
We have no information about anything at the Chase Bank as of this date.
Okay. Because I didn't get that, anything back, any response.
Oh, we apologize. We thought, and we went on to do some extensive research into the matter of pawn shops and predatory payday loan institutions to get back to you.
I think Attorney Frazier's doing some research on that as well.
Well, if she's doing research on it, we'll stop doing research.
Yeah, I think she's going to get us some research.
Thank you, sir. No problem.
Because if I recall, there was a point where the city council put a moratorium on something.
It was payday loan institutions, if I'm remembering correctly. And,
some years ago, though.
And the UDC did address those, allowing them only in special districts and making sure they were 500 feet away from residential dwellings and so forth.
So what if you have a pawn shop that has a payday service attached to it?
That's what a pawn shop is.
That's what I mean. I think the problem we were having is that, if I'm not mistaken, pawn shops are heavily regulated by the state.
They are.
And there was no need for additional regulations from the local municipality, but we're still looking into it. The payday loan institutions are not as highly regulated because we look at them as retail services, because you can come and you can buy things from the pawn shop. You can come and trade and exchange things in the pawn shop, which is totally different from just payday checks.
Right, but there are some pawn shops that offer payday lending services within it. And so is that a payday lending place?
If they offer that, then that entity of the pawn shop is treated as a payday loan entity.
So in our eyes, we look at them as a payday lending institution.
We look at them as a total, but we will treat them, that part of their operation, as payday loan.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you so much.
Yes.
Before you leave, Mr. Clark, what's the address of that place?
It's on 7th Street. That's what I know.
70. Well, Donovan,
it's the old Chase Bank on 7th
Street.
Street. Did you hear me, Mr. Carter?
Say that again.
It's the old Chase Bank on 7th.
Oh, the old Chase Bank?
Yes, sir.
I know exactly where it's at. It's right down the corner. Like
Yes,
First Baptist. Okay, thanks.
Across from down South Cajun. That's it, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Commissioner Doug Dominic?
Oh, is Tim here? Tim Weaver? Okay. On Saturday, I just wanted to give a good kudos out to him. On Saturday, May 11th, that's about 5 o'clock. That was on a Saturday. We had a storm that weekend, and I just happened to be driving down the road next to Noah Tyson Park, which is a park in North Caddo Parish, and noticed that there was a tree that had fallen. And I called Tim on his cell phone and went out to eat with my wife. We came back about an hour and a half later, and it was gone. Public Works, Gary Stoneman, thank you, and all the hard workers in North Caddo. You know that we do have employees that are on call, and it's nice to be able to call somebody and see something done. I mean, it's done expeditiously. So, Robert, tell Tim thanks for answering his phone. Thanks for taking care of my problem, and appreciate all y'all's hard work.
That's it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Dr. Wilson, did we get any response from the voter registrar's office for Mr. Ernie Robertson?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Okay.
And I sent you a formal letter on that. And also, Mr. Robinson has informed me that he's on FMLA for the next 3 months.
He's on FMLA?
I'm done.
He's unable to attend?
Yes, ma'am. He's
Okay.
unable to attend.
They don't, Madam President, may I?
Yes.
Is there not a deputy over there?
Huh?
Is there not a deputy? A number 2 person?
Yes, yeah, there's someone, I'm gonna visit the unit Friday.
Okay.
And Mr. Lyons is sitting in as the deputy.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. I think if, I'll adjust this off record, but we're gonna make a request for someone to come from that office to address our concerns. Thank you. Mr. Glass, thank you for addressing the lighting on that portion of Lakeshore Drive. They have been in the dark, like 31, 32, for quite some time. You know, that stretch between Juella and West 70th Street, but my constituents are very pleased, and they just wanted to extend their gratitude for addressing that issue in such a timely manner, because before they reached out to us, they had reached out to several other agencies. So I just want to thank you all for doing a great job, and always, as Commissioner Dominic said, it's always great to have employees that we can call on and guarantee that the job will be done. That's all that I had, so thank you. Mr. Clerk.
Next, we have citizen comments, late arrivals. I have no cards.
I have none either. Next item.
Consent agenda.
Move for adjournment.
Second.
So moved. Meeting is adjourned.
Out of respect, I don't want to take you long. I can call you.